Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you back to YoungMartin'sReels. And today we've got kind of a special task. Let me back up a little bit so you can, it's as far back as it's going to get. I got from a yard sale this reel combined together with this rod, which is a collapsible rod with a broken tip. I've got to fix the tip. And I picked this up for my grandson. I actually picked up two different ones, and this is the one he picked out of the two. He needed a rod to go in his truck. He said he'd like to have one so that whenever he's out running around and he sees a place he'd like to fish, that he'd like to have one for that. So this one was at a yard sale. I picked it up. The combo, I think I paid like $10 or $11 for it. It's a very dirty reel, but if you check it out, even though it's a little slow, it's pretty functional. The slam bell seems to be a little stiff, but there you go. It still works. There we go. And the drag is very tight. Let's see if I can loosen that up a little bit. Loosen up a little more. There we go. Now the drag's working again. This is a nice reel. Everything on it works. He picked it out. It's really not the one I thought he would have chosen, but this is the one he chose. So he's coming over to mow grass in a couple of days. I told him I'd have it ready for him when he got here. So we're going to get this thing up and running, and he'll be able to see the video tonight when I post it, and he'll know his reel is done. So Christian, this is your reel. This is a Daiwa. It's a Bando Daiwa GS 2000 ball bearing reel. So we're going to take this thing apart, get it cleaned up, and he's also left-handed, so he liked the fact that the reel was reversible. Okay, there we go. So we're going to start off by taking the handle off. I think we are anyway. Let's see here. If you're going to use force, don't use a whole lot of force. There we go. Okay, now that's just a cover. All right, so when you try to loosen that, it's not going to take the handle off. It's just a cover that hides the screw. Once you got the screw, once you're down to that, you can get to the screw. And the screw is what actually holds the handle. And this one, this reel now, will be immortalized out there, Christian, in years to come if I'm not around to be able to work on the reel for you. This is a video showing you how to do it yourself. All right, there's no screws on this side, so this side's the plate's not going to come out. We do have screws on this side, and if you look, there's a separation between the side plate and the, man, look at all the dirt on this thing. Between the side plate and the rotor. Let's go ahead, though, before we get there and take this rotor spool off. Gonna be doing a lot of cleaning on this reel. Okay. I'll leave that on. And we're gonna take the side plate screws off. All right, all three side plate screws are the same. Now we're going to lift the side plate off. Before we do that, let's make sure anti-reverse is on right now. Let's flip this lever, and that turns the anti-reverse off. Okay, let's take that off. Now we're going to pull the side cover off, and we're in a perfect position to remove the screw for the axle shaft. I see an awful lot of play in there. Mostly that, though, that's because this is, there we go. That's a little better. All right. Let's see if this will come out first. And it won't. I didn't think it would. The bushing will, but we'll leave it on there for now. Let's take this screw out of the crosswind block. And that removes the screw then for the axle shaft, so the axle shaft should pull out, like so. Now, so we don't lose the screw and don't get it confused, and the other screw we can go ahead and just give it a few turns into the axle shaft. Now with the axle shaft out, your main gear should come out. And it does. All the teeth here are in very good shape. All right, that's good. Let's take our crosswind block out. Now look at the orientation before we take it out. See that the screw is to the back and all the rest of these points over here are to the front. This is its orientation. So we'll slip it out. Remember, that part goes up underneath there. Like so. And then as it rotates, like so. Okay, so that's good. Let's take that out. The intermediate gear there, or crosswind gear, I thought it was going to be a little bit, and it is just a little bit loose, but not enough to cause us any grief. Okay, so we'll take that out. All the teeth in it, they look really good. What do we got left here? Okay, nothing there. So now we're going to remove our nut from our rotor. I believe that's going to be this guy here. All right, now the rotor should come off. Okay, sweet. This is where you want to get close and friendly with this reel, because if you're going to take any of this stuff off, you need to see exactly where all these springs are and where they fit. Okay, you've got this spring here. This is part of your anti-reverse. See how it's set in there. All right, that's your anti-reverse override. Okay, on this side over here, what do we have? Okay. I'm not sure what that is or what it's doing. It's got a very strong spring on it, but I also don't see a need to take it off. On this side over here, now this is our anti-reverse on this side. Okay, if we disabled this, so here's our anti-reverse lever here. That's the override. Okay, when it comes down, it pushes down and moves that lever out. That disables the anti-reverse. So what does this one do for us? I bet that's a bait clicker, but I don't see what it's clicking on. Oh, that's on this. Okay, that clicker operates on here. All right, that's for your. So I still don't know what this one does. All right, we're going to come back to that. So I'm going to know what it does before we get done. Gotta watch this spring over here. It wants to pop up and out of there. That's a very strong little spring also. All right, so that's got all the parts out except for taking out our pinion gear. Oh man, I gotta take that out to get to that. So we're not gonna be able to take that off unless we get to there. Well, yeah, I can just lift it out of the way because I have no desire to take that off. All right, we're gonna remove these 3 screws. All right, that removes our pinion gear, our retainer, our bearing. The bearing is a shielded bearing. It's not a sealed bearing. It's a shielded bearing. But we're going to have to clean that, soak it real good, get all this dirt off of everything. And be careful. If you look up inside here, when I put this back on, this assembly stayed in place. It came off and went up, stuck to that. And this actually fits on here, and you might have to go back and look at your video, but I'll show you how it goes back on. All right, first you get your pinion back in, your bearing, this piece, and then this fits over the top of it with this gear, or this wire, this spring wire in this slot right here. Okay, so I'm going to scrub everything up, and we're going to do that at high speed, and we're going to come back and let you see it. All right, at this point, we're ready to start putting things back together again. And we're going to start off by putting our bearing onto our gear here. Let's go ahead and grease up the gear while we're here. We can slip that back in. Put our bearing all the way down, and we can put our retainer back in, which that's the proper configuration for that. And let's see about getting it put back together. Don't tighten any of these screws all the way down until you've got them all in. Put a little bit more grease on the shaft just to make it so this will slide on and off easily. There we go. That part goes in. Then the click ratchet. And I've got a 50-50 chance that I put that in there the right way. I think I did. And this one goes in. But see this little wire right here? This little wire has to go right into that slot right there for your anti-reverse. Once you've got that in, you can go ahead and set your rotor back on. That's what that is. That's a clicker. Okay, so this bar up here is a clicker. Turn it off. No more clicker. Anti-reverse. All right, very good. Now, let's go back real quick and take a look at what the clicker's operating on. Okay. Is there anything in there? There's nothing there. There you go. All right. If you look down inside, way down inside there, let's take this back off. That's the easiest way to see it. Okay. That's our anti-reverse. That's our anti-reverse ratchet. Okay, now, see right there? That's our clicker assembly. So that's what this lever does. This lever removes that, turns that clicker off. Flip it back, it brings it back in. Now the clicker is sitting on that little clicker dog, and you get your clicker back. Okay. That's got that gear in. Let's turn the anti-reverse back to off so that it'll move all these bars over. And we'll set this back into place so that the square sits over the shoulder. Like that. Then we're going to set this piece back in so that that rides in the anti-reverse lever right there. So that when there's our anti-reverse on. See how this clicks in right here? Going one way, it lets it click by. Going back the other way, it pulls it back. Now what we're going to want to do is each one of these pivot points, for each of these, we want to put a drop of oil on. Just to give them a good go at it. All right. That's good. We've got the anti-reverse on. Let's go ahead and set this back in place. Slide it down all the way. Turn that clicker off for a minute. Make sure everything's working. And it is. Let's put our nut back on. There we go. Anti-reverse on. Nope, that's anti-reverse off. There we go. Turn the clicker on. All right. That has all of that installed properly. Next, we're going to come back. We're going to put this bushing in. It goes down in this hole right here. Snap it in place. Put a little grease in that bushing, just so it's got something to pivot on. All right, now we're going to put our crosswind gear back in. Not the block, just the gear. I'll put a little grease on the back side of him as well. And set it down in place with the post at the back, like that. At this point, we're ready to set our main gear back in. So we can take it and grease up the teeth on the main gear. Sorry, I'm out of picture. With that done, we can now slide this in. We're going to slide this bushing off because we did not remove it. And it's kind of bound up a little bit. We're going to try to take it off. Wow. It doesn't want to come off. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little oil in here and then see if we can pop it back in. There we go. Okay, there must be a little bit of a burr out here on this outer edge, but that's spinning well on that, so we're going to leave it. Add a little grease, keep it loose, and set that back in place. That bushing fell out, so we'll put it back in again. Put your main gear back in, like so. Set your crosswind block if it did like this one just did and fell out. Let's set it back in place. There we go. Then when we rotate this, let's turn the anti-reverse off so that it can go both ways. There we go. Slide it into position there. And let's grease up our crosswind block. I'm hoping I can slide it in now. I might have to put it in before I put that main gear in. We're going to find out in just a second. There we go. No problem at all. With that set into place, we'll come back now with our axle shaft. I'm going to oil the axle shaft. We're going to slide it in and rotate it a little bit so that it's spreading that oil around. And now we want to slide the axle shaft into the crosswind block. I don't know if you can see it there. That's what I'm trying to get into the picture. Okay, right now it's sitting just a little bit cockeyed. So we're going to straighten it out like so. There we go. Slide that in and line up the hole with the hole in the crosswind block. And take our screw, put it back in. Screw that into the axle shaft. Okay. At that point, we're ready to put this cover back on. That fit very nicely on. And let's reset our 3 screws back in. All right, we've got that all back together. Let's scrub up this handle because it needs a little TLC as well. my grandson is left-handed, so he wanted me to keep this on the right-hand side of the reel. That's the way he likes to use it, so that's what he's going to get. Slide this screw back in on the other side, plug that plug in, and tighten this down. All right, that brings us down to this spool, and obviously I'm gonna be taking the line off of it because the line's no good, but I've got to clean this up in here for the clicker for your drag, and then I've got to take and clean the drag itself up because it looks pretty nasty itself. All right, let's see if we can't get some of this dirt out of here. I wiped it out, but that didn't get it out. I don't know where in the world they stored this reel, but it had a bad case of dirt. Okay, it's got Teflon drag washers, so that's nice. All we've got to do is wipe them off good. Get them back down inside. Oh, wait a minute. It looks like we have one leather drag washer and all the rest are Teflon. There we go. Gotta get it worked out. Take a cotton swab, clean this out real good. All right, yeah, we've got one leather washer and the rest are all Teflon washers. So our one single drag washer that is leather, we are going to apply drag washer grease to and put it back in. And it's got it stuck in the hole. There we go. Now laid down flat. All right, next will come a keyed washer. We'll take this keyed washer and wipe it off good. Make sure it's clean and shiny, and it is. We're going to drop it in. Next is going to be a Teflon washer, and these have got a lot of dirt on them. It's actually caked onto them. So let's see if we can't scrub it up a little bit. Like so. Drop it in. Okay, next would come an eared washer, which is this one. Wipe it off. Let's take a look at it. All right, it's got the two little ears, one on each side, and that, of course, is going to drop into this slot, into these little slots right here on the side. There we go, like so. And that brings us down to one last Teflon drag washer. And again, because they're Teflon, they don't need lubrication. They just need to be clean. And there was a lot of sand in here. Okay, there's that one in. And that brings us down to just this last keyed washer. We'll wipe it off. Clean it up. And drop it down inside. Wipe off the spring and reinstall it so that it's reasonably easy to get it back out next time. Insert it so that one end is near one of the openings, but not in the opening. And there we go. Everything is in a clip. Everything's in the slot. We should be able now to take this. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to put a little bit of grease on the clicker right here. And a little bit on this Teflon washer right here. Now we'll slide this back on. They'll all line up. Now you can hear the clicker. Put your drag net back on, or handle, so that you can adjust it down. Okay, that tight. You cannot move the drag at all. Loosen it up a little bit. Loosen it up a little more. There we go. Got a good tight drag. And yet you can loosen the drag up as much as you want. There we go. All right. So there you have the Daiwa GS 2000 serviced. We've got a clicker. We've got anti-reverse. We can flip the anti-reverse off like so. We can turn our clicker off and on. Okay, well, apparently the clicker only works with anti-reverse on when everything is installed. Okay, because this switch flips that, remember it's flipped that secondary switch out? All right, so also it's got a very nice feature here on the handle. If you want to lay the handle down, you just push in on the lever and the handle lays down. When you want to straighten it back up, you simply grab hold of it, pull it up, and it should lock into place. Okay, this one's a little bit stiff. I did put some oil in there. Let's put a little bit more oil in there. And I see a little dirt under here. We'll put a little oil in there as well. There we go. Oh, now it's working much smoother. Very nice feature. Bail trips. So what if I do it on camera? All right, Christian, you like these bales that you can flip manually by hand. You don't like to have it slam, but this is a slam bale. It will trip over, but you prefer to flip it yourself. So this is a reel that you can do that with, unlike say the Mitchell 300 that you don't like using because you can't flip the bale manually. And you can flip it off, but you can't flip it back on. So there you go, Chris P. You've got your Daiwa GS 2000 all serviced. If you guys like this video, let me know. Hitting the like button. If you dislike the video, hey, that's okay. I understand. Tell me what you didn't like, and we'll work from there. That's how I improve. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. And for now, that's Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels signing out.